Ego is tremendously defensive. Ego is never wrong, hence you are in misery. Ego is always infallible, hence you are in misery. Start looking in the loopholes. Make your ego fallible and it will fall and disappear. Don't go on supporting it, otherwise you are supporting your own misery. But we go on supporting it. In good ways, in bad ways, we go on supporting it. You call somebody a good man, a moral man, a very respectable man. He has his own supports and props for his ego. He goes to the temple every day, to the church. Reads the Bible or the Gita, follows the rules of the society. But he is just trying to find props for his ego. He is a religious man. A respectable man, a moral man. Then there is somebody else who never follows the rules of society, never goes to the church. Whenever he finds any opportunity to break any rule, he enjoys it. He is enjoying another sort of ego. The ego of the criminal, the ego of the immoral person. He says, I don't care. But both are finding supports for the same miserable thing. Both will be in misery. Even when people go to confess, they don't want to confess small sins. They are not worth confessing. This is the experience of many priests of many religions. That people exaggerate their sins. When they come to confess, they exaggerate. They may have killed an ant and they think they have killed an elephant. They exaggerate, because it is not ego-fulfilling to do such a small thing. The ways of the ego are very subtle. If you go to the jail, and you listen to the talk of the people confined there, you will be surprised. They all go bragging that they have done so many robberies. And they have killed so many people. They may not have done anything at all. But that is the way of the ego. Then you are miserable, and then you become worried. Why? You create a barrier between you and life. Ego is nothing but barrier. When I say drop the ego, I mean drop all demarcation lines. You are not separate from life, you are part of it. Like a wave, you are part of the ocean. You are not separate at all. Neither as a saint are you separate, nor as a sinner are you separate. You are not separate at all. You are one with life. You are neither dependent on life, nor are you independent of life. You are interdependent. When you understand that we are all interdependent, linked with each other, life is one, we are just manifestations of it. Then you start becoming blissful. Then there is nobody who can prevent you from bliss. Bliss is very obvious. Bliss is very close. Bliss is so natural and so close that mind tends to forget it. Every child is born in a blissful state. And almost every person dies in tremendous misery. Only rarely someone, a Buddha, a Jesus, dies in a blissful state. What happens? What goes wrong? When a child is born, he is not separate. When the child is in the mother's womb, he is part of the mother, he does not exist separately. Then he is born, then, too, he remains part of the mother. He goes on being fed by the mother. Then he goes on hanging around the mother. Then, by and by, he grows. This growth can be of two types. If he grows as ordinarily people grow, then he grows into an ego. He becomes hard, he gathers a hard crust around himself, and that will make him miserable. That is not the right way to grow. Something has gone sour, something has gone wrong. To me, if the mother is religious, if the father is religious, if the family is religious, and when I say religious, I don't mean that they are Christians or Hindu or Mohammedans, or Jains or Buddhists. That has nothing to do with religions. In fact, all these things never allow religion to evolve. If the child is forced into a dogma, into a dogmatic ideology, then the ego will gather. Then the ego will be against the Hindu and against the Mohammedan. Then the ego will become Hindu, and will be against the Christian and against the Mohammedan. But if the house is really religious, by religious, I mean meditative, loving, they help the child to be, but yet without the ego. They help the child to be, but yet without the ego. They help the child to feel more and more the affinity, the unity, that exists. The child has to be helped. He is helpless. He does not know where he is. He does not know where he is going. If he is loved and there is a meditative rhythm in the family and the family vibrates with silence, understanding, the child will start growing into a more organic way of being. He will not feel himself separate. He will start learning how to become part. That has not happened. I am not telling you to have any grudge about it, but you can do it right now. You can stop helping your ego and you can start dropping the burden. Make it a point not to miss any opportunity where you can feel one with anything. If it is a full moon night, feel one with the moonlit night. Allow to flow. Stream with it, dance, sing. And drop your ego. There is nothing better than dance for dropping the ego. Hence, I insist that all meditators should dance. Because if you go really in a whirlwind, if you are really a whirling pool of energy, if you really are in the dancer is lost. In the dance, the dancer is always lost. If it is not lost, then you are not dancing. Then you may be performing, then you may be manipulating. Then you may be doing some bodily exercise, but you are not dancing. Dancing means so lost, so drunk, and enjoying the energy that is created by dance. By and by you will see your body is no more so solid as it was before. By and by you will see that you are melting. The boundary is losing its sharpness. It is becoming a little vague. You cannot exactly feel where you end and where the world starts. A dancer is in such a whirlpool. He becomes such a vibration that the whole life is felt as in one rhythm. So whenever you can find a time, a place, a situation, you are in love with somebody, don't miss this opportunity. Don't talk nonsense. Don't bring your ego and bragging. Drop that. Love is tremendously divine. God has knocked at your door. Be lost. Hold hands with your woman, or with your man, or with your friend. Get lost. Sing together, or dance together but get lost. Or sit together but get lost. And feel that you are no more an individual. Sitting by the side of a tree, get lost. That's how it happened to Buddha. In that moment the Bodhi tree and Buddha became one. For 500 years after Buddha, Buddha's statues were not built. Instead, only the Bodhi tree's picture was worshipped. It was tremendously beautiful. Those people must have understood. Just the Bodhi tree was worshipped. In Buddhist temples there was just a symbol of the Bodhi tree. Because in that moment Buddha completely disappeared. He was not there, only the Bodhi tree was. He was completely lost. Disappearing, you appear. Non-being is your way of real being. And this can happen in ordinary life. You need not go to the Himalayas or to a monastery. There are millions of chances in ordinary life. Millions of momentous situations where this can happen. You just have to be a little watchful and a little courageous to use them. Once you start using them, more and more situations will be coming. They have always been coming, but you were not aware, so you missed them. Sitting on the beach taking a sunbathe, melt with the sun. It is an energy experience. Suddenly you see you are nothing but sun energy. Melting and meeting with the sun, Hindus came to worship the sun. They said, the sun is God. They said, the moon is God. They worshipped trees as divine. They worshipped rivers, mountains. It is very significant. Whenever it happened that they met God. Sitting by the side of a river, listening to the beautiful music of the river. Seeing the beautiful patterns of ripples, if they got melted, dissolved. The river became the God. It happened there. Sitting on a lonely mountain. They dissolved and disappeared, that mountain became their God. God comes in millions of ways to you, but your ego never allows you to see him. And he comes in such ordinary ways that you miss. He never comes like a monarch, with a great procession, with a great band and noise and fuss. He never comes like that. Only foolish people do that. God comes very silently. He never comes shouting, he comes whispering. You will have to be very quiet to understand his message. It is a love whisper. And man tends to forget the natural. The simplest, the most natural, the mind tends to forget. The mind is always interested in something exceptional. Because that is the interest of the ego. The ego is not interested in the common and God is very common. The ego is not interested in the simple and God is very simple. The ego is not interested in the near and God is very near. That's how you go on missing bliss and you become miserable. It is up to you to change it. It is your choice. Each moment of life brings you two alternatives: to be miserable or to be happy. It depends on your choice. Whatsoever you choose, you become.